Alrighty, guys, welcome back. We're finally back with the King of the Court show. Me and Ben have both been away in Europe, so our schedules are not quite lined up very well. So we've gone MIA for a bit, but we're back now. Obviously, the playoffs are super fun. We just talked about it off air just a minute ago, how sort of well we did in the end predicting the run of the playoffs there. The summer league has come and gone now. Drafts come and gone, but we're getting closer, I guess, to the start of the season. There's a few now rumours about who gets traded where. So the start of the free agency period's basically done. I think now most teams have made their moves. So it's exciting times. We're getting back to the basketball season. I feel 100%. Like we're approaching the time of the year. How have you found, I guess, the off-season so far? Have you enjoyed some of the moves?
Mate, it was well, we're going to go obviously into the moves a bit more in depth, but like the first is, literally straight away, as soon as the free agency season starts, you just see all these contracts just going out and you're scrolling through Twitter and it's like bang, 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 bang. And that's why we love the NBA. It's so exciting all the time. There's always something happening. All these teams are getting impatient. They're just doing things, throwing money around. And it feels like every year we see biggest contract in history for this type of player or this. So heaps of fun. Absolutely love it. Love the trades. I don't think it's been one of the better off seasons we've seen in a little bit. Yeah. But 2018 was the best I think I've seen. Yeah, it's been heaps of fun. Absolutely.
It was really quick. Like at the start, a lot of the big moves were made. Like the Sabonis contract came out there. Obviously, we'll talk a bit about the Chris Paul thing coming up, but then like that all happened really quickly, and it seemed to sort of halted off. So teams are doing their deals and moves quickly. Yeah. And I feel like maybe some few trades before the season starts, but a lot of the free agency was done in a second.
There's a bit of a no man's land at the moment in the NBA. So we just got to see what happens, I suppose.
Today we'll be going through 15 Western Conference teams. Sort of give them a grade where we think they've sort of landed up, how well their off-season's been, take into account obviously last season, who they've got in their roster, and I guess who they've added or lost in some cases. I've been very lean, I think, with mine, so we'll have to see how we all line up again.
Yeah, so we haven't actually communicated about what our grades have been, so it's interesting to see how they contrast, or if not at all. We'll see. Preston and I are usually pretty similar, but maybe I'm a bit more negative or maybe positive than him. We'll see. Yeah. But
we'll go alphabetical. We'll start at the top with Dallas.
Yeah.
I think for them, it was a really upsetting sort of and disappointing end to last season. I think missing the play in the whole Kyrie move. You thought it was going to be, that's a playoff team that they can do that with Luka and Kyrie. It just didn't work. So I feel like any sort of improvement to that team was going to be better for them. But I still think, obviously, they bring Kyrie back for around a 3-year deal. They've got Seth Curry, some more shooters and more guards, but there's no real centre there that's going to demand dominance.
Yeah, I think, and they brought Kyrie Irving back for 120 mil, 3 years. I think it's quite a nice contract for a player like him, and that could have been really bad though if Dallas lost Kyrie Irving. But 100%, they don't really have a very good centre, and I think I was very frustrated last year with how they misused Christian Wood. Yeah. I feel like he could have done a lot more in that role. But they needed a defensive centre. They could have got someone, like Jock Landale, even like Bol or something, just something. They could have had some interior presence, and they have not done that. I think Grant Williams, though, is a nice pickup.
I like that.
I think Grant Williams is really nice. They need some of like kind of wings that can shoot and play defense. But they lost Davis Bertans. They lost Reggie Bullock as well. Yeah. So there isn't really a lot of tangible players on that roster.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought they'd do a bit more, but
I think they're just underwhelmed the fact that I think they needed more defensive presence, and Grant Williams is one piece, but he can't do it on his own because he did it in a team defense that the Celtics had. So it's a nice sort of, in a way, it feels like not a veteran sort of presence in it, but like he's been there and he's done a few playoff runs, right? So at least he's got some experience there to help Luka out, obviously. But it still feels like such an offensive and guard heavy team that.
And they get Seth Curry as well.
Yeah.
They got him for nothing. I think it was what?
Yeah.
It was 2 years for $8 million, so you can't really, can't really complain about that. But it just doesn't really address any of the concerns.
Yeah. What are you going to grade him? Because
look, I think I was a bit nice, to be honest. I gave them a B-.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I think,
there you go.
Like obviously bringing Kyrie back, I think, is the biggest tick. You had to take him. If you lost him, the team's almost now going through a rebuild. Luka looks fit.
Slovenia. All these off-season videos, man.
Yeah, I'm loving this.
Little clone drills.
Yeah. But obviously that's their two there. Can they trade for a centre hopefully towards the start or the midpoint of the season? Yeah. Maybe interesting to see. But I think as far as the off-season goes, you had to bring out Kyrie, so they've done that.
And that's, if they lost him, they would have been like an F-. That would have been atrocious. They really had to bring him back. But also, even Christian Wood, that thing's always a bit interesting. I mean, maybe they could have done a sign-in trade. I reckon they could do something there. I don't know. But they don't even have him on the roster right now. The NBA doesn't want him, apparently.
It's a big loss, I think, for them. think you're right. He was so underused last year.
And they've got to bring him back.
Yeah. Okay, so Dallas, we'll stick with the B minus. We'll agree on that one.
Yeah.
Done well. We both agreed there. Now going to Denver. Obviously, the champions last season. It's always hard to repeat because players just disappear, it feels like.
Yeah.
They've done well to hold on to a lot of players. Obviously, no one's really got traded yet, but they've brought Reggie Jackson back, DeAndre Jordan back. So there's that sort of role group there. Obviously, the big two are there, Jokic and Murray still on a contract. But I think the biggest for me is you lose Jeff Green, you lose Bruce Brown. And I feel like those guys are underrated in that playoff run they had last year.
Yeah, dude, Bruce Brown was awesome.
Cool.
You know, I think he averaged about 13, 14 points a game. You know, was a pretty good 3-point shooter. And him on the fast break was pretty unstoppable.
Yeah.
He was a guy that did a little bit of everything. You know, a bit of a smaller player that sort of plays into a bigger role. And, you know, I'm happy for him that that he's going to go to the Pacers. The Pacers are going to be a fun team to sort of see.
Watch, yeah.
But, the Nuggets haven't really done an awful lot. And I think I don't think they need to do a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I think potentially sort of their bench depth a bit of a concern.
Yeah.
Maybe from the minutes that Jokic doesn't play, they could potentially pick up a center. I like DeMarcus Cousins.
Oh, but the guy's still there.
You know, I like the idea of having DeMarcus Cousins on that team. That would have been kind of fun, but haven't done an awful lot.
I feel like the Jeff Green is equally as powerful. He was someone who just had that veteran calm head, right? I know he's getting on a bit, but it's so hard to run it back. We saw with Golden State last year. Sometimes you need that extra piece to add to a team to keep you moving in the right direction. And I feel like you lose her to Jeff Green's your wing presence. Bruce Brown's very versatile. Like you say, he can play bigger than his size. He's a small stature guy, but he fights hard. He pushes hard. You need someone like that grit and grind that they need in that team. And I feel like you lose that a bit with losing those two. It'd be interesting to see if they do. I think they will have to make some trade moves at the start of the season just to add some depth in that team.
They need some depth. That's definitely
really lacking. Yeah. You get some older presence on the bench, but it's just not going to be it, right?
At the same time, though, I think we talked about it before, but I think the roster is very well constructed. You know, they don't really need to do a lot, but they could obviously just sort of do some things on the exterior. But love the Nuggets.
Yeah.
You know, they've always been a team. They haven't really made a lot of splashes.
They're one of those teams that they're not the big marks. They're not going to make the big splash.
They don't really ever do that. Yeah. They kind of just trust the process a bit, which I think is good, but doesn't really make it exciting to talk about. I suppose.
It's hard because you feel like they have to go into the season the favourites because Jamal Murray Jokic combo was elite last year. But then when you see the lack of depth on the bench, you think, is this really going to run it back as strong as we saw the end of last season? But it will be interesting. What are you putting them down as a grade wise?
I don't know. I just gave him a C. I just wasn't sure. There wasn't really anything terrible. Bruce Brown's a bit of an L, but I just gave him a C. Yeah.
I just gave him a C plus. I was being generous. I just think because like the roster's there, they just won it. It's hard to not go any lower. You feel harsh giving them that.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think the Bruce Brown loss will be massive. He was influential in that playoff run, especially the back end of the Western Conference Finals and in the finals himself. It was awesome.
It was so good. Yeah, and as well, like with these ratings as well, like it's worth noting that we're just talking about what they've done in the offseason, not where they are or their power rankings and things like that, because they're obviously in a great spot right now. But
100%.
There you go.
We'll move to the next team, Golden State.
This is a fun one.
A team. I would say this is when you got a bit more to talk
about.
This
is a really interesting
one. Always in conversation, it feels like these days. One of the modern, bigger teams, I guess, in the NBA. They got 6 wins over 500 last year, but it never felt like it just quite clicked, right? Since that incident in pre-season with Jordan Poole and Draymond Green, it just felt like it never quite worked in the court, right? And it was a big talking about, do they keep Draymond? Was Dre going to stay? Was he going to go to LA to join LeBron? What was going on there? They have signed him for decent money on a 4-year deal. I think that's massive for the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, and there was rumors about him going to the Pistons as well, actually.
That's some weird.
Seriously weird. I think he would have got exposed on the Pistons, to be honest. He probably wouldn't have done too much there because he's a player that plays well on a winning team. But they did pay him for 4 years for $100 million, which I think the problem is that contract will extend into when he's 37.
Yeah, we old man, yeah.
But I think if you're the Warriors, you're happy to pay players like that. He's been very foundational for a team like that. Sets the tone, and I think you also got to keep your players happy, like Steph and Clay as well. And I think he's a very impactful player for that team. So I'm not mad about that.
I think that they just need to bring him back because Steph and Clay just work so well with
Dre.
That's
absolutely. He's been a huge part of that. They probably wouldn't have won the championships they've had without Draymond Green.
Yeah, he's a fundamental block for them. But then I guess the other big news is the whole, let's call it a swap realistically. Yeah. Chris Paul comes in, Jordan Poole goes to Washington. We'll talk about Washington. We'll talk about Washington later day. That's a tough place to go.
Average 1 million points on that team.
Yeah. But no, Chris Paul, right? So the big talk's been, how does he fit in? Does he come off the bench? Do they play him alongside Stephen Clay? What's the deal?
Yeah.
Personally, I think he has to come off the bench.
Yeah.
We've seen
I agree,
in playoff runs, he doesn't have the legs under him anymore to make a massive impact. Obviously, his ball handling and ball passing, his ability is second to none, right? He is the point guard in many people's eyes. So
best playmakers of all time.
It's awesome to have him there, but I just feel like in a second unit, that could be really, really powerful to improve the lives of Kuminga and these other guys that, I think the younger group, Golden State Warriors, really underperformed last year. I think we can...
Yeah, there was an expectation that they were kind of moving towards winning now, but also developing young players, which I think hasn't really happened.
But I feel like Chris Paul can help that second unit out. And for me, it's a good move if they use him in the right way.
Yeah, and I think as well, betting on what you were just saying about sort of running that second unit, the Warriors, they've struggled without the dominance of Steph Curry in the core. When they don't have him playing, they don't really have a primary ball handler that can do an awful lot, right? So I think I've got some stats here actually. So without Curry playing, they've had 105 offensive rating, which is among some of the worst basically in recent history.
Yeah.
And with them on, they've had 118. So that's a huge difference. So, plus minus of 13.
Yeah.
So in the non-Curry minutes, the offense really slows down. And having someone like Chris Paul to run that offense, I think it's going to be really big for them. Obviously he's an older player and injuries, you can't really line. But I think it's a bit of a low risk kind of situation. But, what do you think about losing Jordan Poole though? What are your thoughts on that? Because I think he's a very controversial player.
Clay's come out in the last few days and said he was influential for that championship 2 years ago. And I feel like he is. You have those players, the NBA is sort of in that sort of sport right now where it's a, make or miss league, right? But when Jordan Poole was on, he was the barometer for that team. The crowd, the chasing the crowd gets behind them, just everything for that goes in. Once Jordan Poole's hitting his shots from the half court line, wherever he was doing, it feels like everything just drops in, and he's sort of that, the spark for the Golden State Warriors. The fact that he's gone, I'm a bit upset it didn't work out because I feel like that the whole next gen thing was going to be pass the baton on to Jordan Poole. He's a flashy player. He's got that ability for that quick first step. He can get past players. I feel like it's a shame it didn't work out for him, but I feel like the way the season started last year was never going to work out. You got to keep one or the other.
I think that was a lot more detrimental for the Warriors than we sort of realised.
Yeah, I think it got dusted under the carpet for the first half of the season when it was they'll get their away form sorted out. It's all good. They'll find their feet, and never
one of the worst performing away teams. Which is insane.
It was massive, and I think it really hurt them in the playoffs. They couldn't quite get that continuity there. So I think said one or the other. I think Dre probably is more important for Golden State as of right now. So they made that move. They still think they're in a championship window. You got Steph Curry there, still at his prime. It feels like I don't think he'll ever leave his prime. It feels like so he's still in his prime. Clay's had now a few years after that injury. He looks healthy again. Touch wood, but touch wood. I love seeing Clay play. I can't see him injured, but I think they'll come good. It's like a sacrificial lamb in a way. You had to sort of get rid of one of them. I think that was the right pick to go with.
But at the same time, you've lost a 20-point per game player. And whether or not he's efficient or takes the right shots. I think what was in the Lakers series where they were down 2 and oh my God, Jordan Poole pulls up from the parking lot. It was, and Steph Curry looks pissed. And Jordan Poole was pretty ass.
He was awful.
He was pretty awful.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then the thing is as well, what is Golden State going to do once this Steph Curry, Clay era is over? But I think you're crazy not to sort of keep that together and sort of run with it. You've got 4 championships out of it and you've got another couple of years to compete.
Servants of the team, basically. You don't really see many superstars like that hang around that long anymore.
And that's pretty incredible. So I think, you're crazy not to keep that together for a player that might be good in the future.
Yeah, and I guess before we grade them all up, I feel like another big loss is Donte DiVincenzo as well.
He's nice, man. I like him.
He gets you double-digit points, during a regular season when you need him. He can step into that main starter role. I think influential in any team he goes to. He's a guy with strong defense, but that shooting, the ability to spread the floor with that 3-point shooting, I think it's very underrated. I'm surprised I let him go. Obviously, the Knicks gave him some money, so I think he would be, in his mind, the Knicks is easy to go to when you get given that sort of money.
I think that's what they do. They pay people stupid money. But
I think between Poole and DiVincenzo, I think tough losses, but I think Dre coming back was just too big of a
They
deal.
needed to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And grade wise, what are you going for the Golden State Warriors?
I gave him a B plus, which might sound a bit controversial, but I kind of like the Chris Paul pairing.
Yeah, I was exactly the same. I'm surprised we landed on that again. I think
Jeez, man.
Chris Paul will be massive for that second unit and massive for the development of the others. I guess you call it.
Kuminga's going to go crazy this season.
Even just Kevon Looney's in the second. If he gets pushed down that second unit, he'll benefit off the pick and roll with Chris Paul. Like everyone gets better with Chris Paul in their team, and Dre coming
Players
back for
winning
me.
basketball.
Yeah, Dre coming back, that's a winner. Chris Paul's a winner. I think they'll go very well in the regular season. It's just how well do they do come playoff
Chris
time
Paul
again.
might just tear his hamstrings
Like he does
or
every year.
whatever. But yeah, anyway.
Strong for the Warriors. Jump to the Rockets now. Now this is something I'm also very excited
Weird
in.
one. Sorry,
It's weird, but I'm excited for it. I think.
it's kind of fun.
But you're right. It's fun because it could go either two ways. It could become disastrous, or it could be, damn, they've pulled one of the greatest set of off seasons we've seen in a while.
It's a bit funky. I just don't really know what they're trying to do.
How does it line up? Is my question I have.
It's just a bit weird.
Yeah, it is strange, but I think what they're trying to do now is match that young core. You got Eamon Thompson there now, Cam Whitmore, Sengun, Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr. Those guys, and you're trying to pair them up with guys who have played some serious playoff basketball. So Dylan Brooks comes on his 4-year deal,
They gave him a lot of money.
a lot of money as well.
I think comparing that to Russell Westbrook's contract is insane. I'm surprised Dylan Brooks honestly is still in the league right now.
I feel like everything is blown out of proportion in the playoffs.
Oh,
and
I think
the
so.
Lakers,
No,
yeah.
look, he's a
But
good player, but
he was bad in that.
he was bad in the playoffs.
bad in
Actually,
the playoffs.
fun fact, actually. So, little statistic for you. I actually remember this one.
Look on.
So, out of the 155 players that took 1,500 shots last season, he was 154th in true shooting percentage. So, this man shoots 39% from the field, about 29% from three. But plays great defense.
Yeah,
Really
bit of character.
Bit of character for whatever that's worth.
Yeah.
I think it's nice to have him on the Rockets. I think it's going to be good, but
It's probably, I think it's the right direction because the whole young, like everyone's under 21 almost team, it's not going to work, right? You need some veteran experience. You need some people who've seen
balance the
done
egos
things.
a little bit. I feel
Jeff
like
Green's a big move across there. I feel like that's a veteran experience. He just won a championship. Fred VanVleet is a nice pickup, I think. That's a smooth money, maybe a little bit too much, but the market as it is probably the right value. 3-year deal, him pairing out with Green up there in the backcourt. That's an exciting backcourt.
it's a nice backcourt. And it's going to be. I think Houston. I think they're going to be a team that's going to score a lot of points, but not play any defense. And probably inefficient points. So it's going to be quite fun to watch. Like you said, with the young core, Eamon Thompson as well, which he looks nice. The Thompson
I'm
twins.
excited with Thompson twins.
They're nice players, but like you said, Kevin Porter Jr. You got Sengun.
Yeah.
You got Jalen Green. Like it's a nice little core there.
Yeah.
So they might have a cheeky little. They might make the night seed or something. They might
something
cop up.
funky, yeah,
but
yeah.
also Imi Udoka as well. They signed him,
Big
and
coaching
he's
change.
really for whatever happened with him and the coaching staff or whatever. But
Yeah.
I think he's a nice coach.
Definitely a winning pickup, right? It feels like this is a winning change at the Rockets. They've added that veteran depth. The young guys go in the right direction. I think the Thompson twins are made for the NBA. They feel like they'll just come in
nice,
and just be
man.
adjusted instantly.
For sure.
Smooth. Cam Whitmore, I think, will be someone up and down, but I think he'll come good over time. So you've got there almost like a 5 of youngsters.
Yeah.
You just keep adding these, veteran or sort of players that have got that experience in the NBA around them.
Yeah.
They'll develop even quicker. And then you've got a team that you could sneak into a 10th seed like an OKC did last year and get a playing game and get that experience under their belts. But I think Houston are going in the right direction. I'm happy with Houston.
And they don't have a lot of pressure either. There isn't really expectations for them right now. They're kind of just playing around. They're having a bit of fun. And they've really turned around quite quickly from the James Harden trade. And they got a bunch of picks too. So they're, between them and Utah and OKC, they're drafting every damn 6-year-old.
Scouts are out.
They've got, it's I wouldn't be unhappy to be a Houston fan right now.
Yeah, and you're right. The eyes are even in Texas. The eyes are away from them. They're all in San Antonio, the other end of town, because the big guys there.
And Dallas as well. Yeah, Victor. Yeah.
So
for sure.
the eyes aren't on them. So yeah, you're right. They could just sneak under the radar this year. What are you rating them though? What's your grade for them?
I wrote A, and then I wrote question mark. So I don't know if I stand by that, but I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna say that's all right. But
I know I've got an A as well. I just think,
jeez, the way
this sucks. We're doing the same. There's no argument here.
Yeah, I know.
I think Jeff Green is a big get. I think Fred VanVleet's he's a winner. Got 2 winners. Dylan Brooks adds a bit of mongrel in that team. Adds a bit of rogue nature to that team because everyone was too normal in that team. Nah. I think it's a good get. And I think you had to put Ime Udoka in that calculation as well. I feel like they're going in the winning direction. That's what you can ask for, I think, if you're Houston Rockets fans.
Yeah, no, a bit of fun. I like it. Cool team.
Let's go to LA now. We'll start with the Clippers. This could be the shortest segment of all time. They retain Plumlee. They get Russ on a 2-year deal for, I ain't cheap for Russ. I think he'll go well again this year.
That's insane.
Yeah. And they get Kenyon Martin, the trade with Houston, but he's not a really. That's actually good from Houston.
He's not a real player.
Yeah, let's say he's a 2K generator. Yeah, that's it for the Clippers. But their team's so strong. Like when everyone's fit on the court.
But the thing is, with the Clippers, man, they never are.
But what can you do in a free agency period when no one's really contracts running out, no one's expiring? I think no one really wants the players you've got.
Yeah.
So what do you do if you're the Clippers?
It's just a really weird situation for them.
Yeah.
You know, they had that core together, pretty much the same core for the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Haven't really done. I don't know. They've done more than we think that they've done. I think the Western Conference Finals a couple of years ago. They've just been, a Kawhi Leonard injury, a Porter's injury away from probably making the finals. Honestly,
Yeah.
And I think there's not really a lot that they can do. You got to keep those players together. I think taking Ross is a bit of an underrated signing. For $8 million, you can't complain about that at all.
Any team would take that for $8 million. Russ for $8 million.
Yeah, and look, man, chuck him on the bench, whatever. It's chill. He's been really scapegoated, I think.
Yeah.
He was really good in the playoffs.
So that playoff here was awesome. That playoff run.
It's like, do the Clippers move on or do they just kind of roll with it? And I think they're back against the wall. I think they've just got to kind of roll with this core and just sort of pray that injuries will be okay.
Yeah, it was one of those teams I think we talked about prior to this offseason where like their hands are tied behind their back. They can't really do much with the money they're giving certain players, and they've sort of got everyone there. They can't really offload and get players back for equal value because there's some big contracts at the team. But like there's all these depth, like the Batum's, all these guys. They're a super talented team, but they don't have their superstars there, so you can't really do much on those superstars.
I think it's also a bit of a cultural problem with that team as well because they kind of had all these expectations. Montrezl Harrell got on the podcast, a couple of years ago, and was like, "Oh yeah, like we're gonna win it all. Like we don't care about the regular season and all that." And there's not really, I don't think there's really kind of a leader there. I think Paul George is a really cool guy. Love his podcast, and I think Kawhi is like a really funny, interesting player, but they don't really have that kind of glue guy or anyone that really brings them together. And I think they just don't really have much of an identity. Yeah. Particularly when you've got those two players that almost kind of think they're above their team a little bit. Yeah. Like I saw something about Kawhi and they were like, they were in a practice game or something and they were like, every time you airball, you have to run laps or something. Yeah. And they were like, and then Kawhi Leonard deliberately airball like twice and goes, I'm like above that. I don't have to run. And I thought that was really interesting. I think that's setting a bit of a nasty precedent.
That's a bad precedent. That's a nasty story.
And they were like, you got to run. He's like, nah, I don't. It's like, well, okay. Like, you got to sort of set a precedent and lead by example, I guess. I don't want to sound like a school teacher when they say that kind of thing, but the culture is a bit of a problem, I think, with the Clippers. Clippers a curse, man. Yeah, it's hard when you live in the shadow of one of the biggest NBA teams ever as 100%. Well. So it's tough for them. I really know how to grade this. I've given it a B-, but I feel that's so overs because they've really not done much. But I feel like I'm taking into account they can't really do much. I feel like probably a B-, C. I think the Russ pickup for that money is like stupid not to miss out. And so I think that's a good get. But then I don't know where else they could possibly have gone. Yeah, well, I gave him a D actually. Yeah. I gave him a Clippers hater. Which makes sense. It totally makes sense. When you only re-sign two guys and you pick up an NPC from the NBA, Kenyon Martin Jr. It's hard to sort of rate any higher, but I get you. I think the Clippers. This is boom or bust. I think this year, like, do they get it all together? Do they click, and does everyone stay fit and they make the finals or the Western Conference Finals, or do they just first round exit like they do every second year? Basketball purgatory. That's a purgatory. Yeah, you use my term. I love when he says that. So, well, you know what, we'll in the middle, C-. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah. Then cross town on the same standard to the Lakers.
this one another is exciting one there because there's moves everywhere.
Really
but
cool
every
season.
year I feel like the Lakers are shipping 80 and 8 out. But here we go. Here's a list. So Rui Hachimura, Russell and Reeves all come back on multi-year deals, which is, I think, good from their playoff run, especially that Grizzlies series. All three of them were very important. The depth is secured in getting Jackson Hayes, Taurean Prince and Cam Reddish across. And then for me, the biggest get, the 3-year deal for Gabe Vincent.
Yeah.
He showed out in the playoffs for the Miami Heat. They obviously lose Lonnie Walker, Beasley, Dennis Schroeder, but I feel like these have all been upgrades for the Lakers.
Yeah, I think Dennis Schroeder's a bit of an underrated loss, to be honest with you. I think Dennis Schroeder was pretty nice. Malik Beasley wasn't great in the playoffs. But yeah, Taurean Prince, Jackson Hayes and Cam Reddish. So we've obviously got Jackson Hayes. We've got a center that's going to kind of provide a bit of physicality.
Yeah.
He's a real player. And Cam Reddish is Cam Reddish and Taurean Prince are quite similar. Like 3-and-D kind of wings. And we've seen that those players fit around LeBron James very well. He's always been a guy that's needed those types of players around him. And I think that's really nice. And then a big thing though as well is signing AD on. I think it's the biggest year-by-year deal.
I don't.
62 million.
But it was the multi-4-year deal. So that basically secures him as a Laker for his
for a
prime
while.
and basically.
And they had to do that really. I don't think there was really an option there.
That's the future for them, right? Like you locked it away there.
Yeah, you'd hope. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit critical of AD, but I think they're going in the right way, and I think the Lakers are really. I think they're in a good spot, really. They're doing the right things.
It feels more like the Cleveland LeBron teams, or to I guess a lesser extent the back end of the Miami days, where like it's just it's two superstars and just guys who are gonna put in work defensively. Can shoot the three when they need it. I think that's what was wrong with the Lakers at the start of last season when they needed a big three. No one could hit it, right? There was no one there to shoot the basketball.
Yeah,
we've got D'Lo there now. Rui Hachimura had one of the best 3-point percentages in the league.
Yeah,
in the playoffs.
56%.
He was lights out. Austin Reeves is a good shooter. But even these wing guys, like you said, that the Cam Reddish of the world, Prince, they can hit some timely threes. I'm interested in how Cam Reddish goes. It all sort of tumbled a bit at Portland. I think it didn't quite go the way people wanted it to go. So it'll be interesting to see how he does. Everyone gets better with LeBron on their team. Right? It just naturally happens. But how much can he excel his career? There was a lot of hype around him when he first came around the league, but it sort of...
when he came from Duke.
Fell off a little bit. But even Gabe Vincent, guy...
Yeah, Gabe Vincent's incredible. But you look at the starting lineup, right? And it depends obviously what they're going to run, but, you've got probably Gabe Vincent or maybe D'Angelo Russell, depending on what they want to do with that. You've got Austin Reeves. You've got a wing player that you can sort of sub in a couple people in there. You can sub in Taurean Prince. Whatever you want to do with that.
Yeah.
And then you've got LeBron, Anthony Davis. Like, that is a seriously good starting lineup. Yeah. And then you've got a couple of good players off the bench there. It's nice. Yeah. Jackson Hayes off there. D'Angelo Russell, you want to run with that.
Yeah, Vanderbilt was a defensive presence.
That is a nice... Yeah, and you can even start Vanderbilt. Yeah. There's a lot of players you can sort of sub in as lineups that you can run here.
It just seems like a 10-man team where just there's depth, right? And it hasn't happened on the Lakers for a long time. Since probably the bubble season when they won it all. So it's I think the traditional LeBron standpoint where let's not have a big three. Let's have two of us. Yeah. And let's just build 8 guys around us who can score the ball when we need them to score the ball.
100%. And
obviously fitness of AD though, that's the...
Yeah, I think it just depends on what, obviously next season, it obviously depends on those two players. Is Anthony Davis going to be healthy? You never know with that bloke. And with LeBron James, what's his decline going to look like? But
how many games has he played?
Yeah, if he hovers around. And I think they're taking a lot of offensive burden off him next season. Yeah. Austin Reeves, I think, is going to have a really good season.
Another breakout.
I can see him kind of becoming the third best player on that team. Or he probably kind of has been, but consistently the third best player.
That guy. Grading-wise, I'm interested to see how you grade this.
I gave him an A.
Yeah, I'm bang on. I'm staying with you as well. We're very good at this. We're very good at this. But I think it makes sense, right? Like, they've done what they could with the money they had. I think that's space. They've maximised what the money they got. They've gone.
I'm surprised Austin Reeves didn't leave as well.
Do you reckon
he could have got big money in a lot of other situations?
I think he talked about the whole thing of like that being his home now. Like LA, like he's the cult figure now in LA.
Yeah, 100%.
He's that guy. MVP chance at the free throw line every game. Would you, if you were Austin Reeves, would you go for a bigger bag?
I mean, like, obviously it depends on their own situation, and I think at a point for NBA players, like, money doesn't become as important because I think once you have a certain amount of money, your living standards are so good anyway. 10 mil here, 10 mil there, it's not an awful lot. Yeah. But personally, if I was in a situation, I'd probably leave to a situation that probably would be better to develop and be a bigger player and a bigger team.
True.
He could, if he was what's the team he could go to? I don't know, the Wizards maybe, something like that.
Yeah.
They might have paid him pretty well, and he could have just had a bit more freedom.
Yeah.
But he wants to continue to winning basketball. I think he's happy playing with LeBron James. I think that's good.
So, yeah,
He could have made another $20 million a year and had a lot more, usage percentage in another team.
I feel like he could have got paid if I think LeBron almost was the guy who brought him back. Like LeBron's really big. Like you see him tweeting about him while he's playing for USA. It's like LeBron's so big, and I reckon he would have made the Lakers pay more. So if Austin Reeves was tight about it and smart ass, he'd say, "No, I don't want that." And I reckon they would have kept bumping that price up.
Yeah, and then Lakers as well. They don't really care about luxury tax and stuff like that. So
they're always over the tax.
They just don't do it. They just don't care. So
we'll move on. We'll move on to the next team, Memphis. It's a funny old one.
This is a weird one.
This one. So obviously, Ja misses part of the start of the season.
The first 25 game suspension.
Yep.
Can you just chill out, man? You're not hood. Like, bro,
You're
not hood, man. Like, you grew up in the suburbs, bro. Like, there's pictures of you in high school wearing like collared shirts.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Anyway,
I think that's gonna be in his own video. That angered me because it's like Memphis are moving in a good direction. It's all and then that, and it just like, really. Another one that's sort of got that veteran experience. Marcus Smart moves across. Derrick Rose comes. I'm excited to see how Derrick Rose goes. Give me some Chicago D Rose action in Memphis. Desmond Bain, the big one was Desmond Bain's extension, right? The 5-year big heavy extension that he got. They've committed to the Desmond Bain, Ja Morant, I think, backcourt now. And it's exciting, right? Like looking forward, that's got to be the most exciting.
100%. And they are kind of trying to secure themselves, I think, because I think they know that Ja Morant's a bit unreliable. Like they've still got, obviously they picked up Marcus Smart for basically 2 second-round picks, which is crazy. That's really good. I think. Chum change. And obviously you got D Rose there, whatever. Matt sells some jerseys. But yeah, and they've, I think an underrated loss though. Obviously they lost Dylan Brooks. I think he was great for that team. Really, what was going on there? Lost Tyus Jones.
I would say that's the biggest loss.
He's a really nice second, off the bench sort of point guard because 10 and 5 is really efficient. His advanced metrics are fantastic.
Yeah.
But Marcus Smart's an improvement there for sure. One defense player a couple of years ago. I don't think he should have won that, but
it was a few cans up
there. Yeah, but I think it's going to feel real nice there.
I think the Tyus Jones one, I think it's more exaggerated, will be more exaggerated at the start of the season when he would have just slipped in perfectly while Ja was sitting.
He would have been good.
And that, I think we say he's a second option, but realistically, the stats say, the eye test says this guy should be a starting point guard.
He could be a starter, yeah.
I think he'll ball out this year on the Wizards. I think the Wizards will get some fun victories.
We'll get to the Wizards in the next video, but the Wizards are kind of fun, man.
Yeah, I think they're a fun team.
really like the Wizards, which is, I don't think I've ever said that.
That's a sentence nobody's ever uttered in their lifetime.
Yeah.
But you're right. Tyus Jones, the stats just say this guy should be like up there with one of the top
nice.
5 point guards in the league. Like this guy's crazy.
He's crazy.
But that's a big loss though.
And Desmond Bain though as well had a really good season. Averaging about 22 points a game, shooting 40% from 3 and a lot of attempts. He's a really cool player. He looks like a toy. Like his arms are so big, but he's got a tiny body. That's not relevant, but
it's funny.
yeah. I reckon he might have another pretty good season, particularly with Ja Morant.
But do you reckon he'll be the best player on this team?
Maybe. I think Jaren Jackson Jr. is really nice.
He'll hit the step, wouldn't he? Yeah.
Whether or not all his blocks are real, there's a lot of rumors around that whether his blocks are actually legit. But no, that's not. Yeah, but. Yeah, I think he could be the best player in this team for the 25 games that Ja Morant's out.
Yeah, 100%.
It really depends on Ja. They'd take him as far as they can go. Really, he's the guy.
Yeah, he's the face of that team, right?
Yeah,
it's hard to not have him on the court for.
Yeah, I think losing Dylan Brooks is good for the team though as well.
I think better for the mindset. The mindset, changed.
So annoying.
It was toxic in the playoffs. Wasn't
He's
it?
such an annoying dude. Just get a better haircut, bro.
fix that true, maybe fix that true.
Oh, dude, yeah.
I also got noted down. I think. Expect some big lifts from like Kenny Lofton and even like Zion Williams.
He's a good player. He dropped 37 in the last game of the season.
If he gets game time, I think somebody can be one of those spark plugs for a team that can, he'll get deep in the paint. He'll bully some guys. He's a massive kid, right? Kenny Lofton, he can get deep in the paint. Zion Williams, I hope he gets some more time this year. He looked promising throughout the season as well. So without Jarm around, I think they'll go a bit deeper and spread the minutes across. So it'll be exciting to see if those guys get a good crack at it. So I expect them to have a big season this year. Obviously, no real draft picks because of how hard they finish. So a quieter summer.
As well, Memphis has also been a good team without Ja playing. I think their commented record when Ja doesn't play is one of the best in history. Like they haven't lost a lot of games when he's not there. And obviously, I don't think they're better without him. I think that's stupid to say that. And that might be in matchup things or whatever statistical variables have gone into that. But they can hold down the form when he's not there. So I don't think I'm not too worried about the Grizzlies.
100%. Grade-wise, then we hitting with them?
I give them an A.
Oh, damn.
Maybe that's a bit high, but...
Yeah. I went a B.
Okay.
I like the Marcus Smart. I guess you could see where that goes. You can rate that.
Honestly, if I probably read that, I probably would say a B. Yeah.
I think the Grizzlies are staying where they are. They're just reinstalled players that are slightly better than what they had, and they're going to run it back again. I think the coaching there is what different. It makes a difference. I think for them, that takes them to the next level. But
as well, like I think we expect as fans for just teams to make like crazy splashes and just like egregious things, and like you know, I think just slightly retooling your roster, absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that's what the Grizzlies done. A couple other teams have done that too. So.
Yeah.
We just kind of like I guess we kind of like this, like the appeal of just crazy stuff.
We like the stupid like 8 players in, 8 players.
Yeah, like kind of the Lakers. It's just so exciting every year. You know, when half the roster disappears and reappears again.
100%. It's true though. You click your fingers and they come back a whole different team.
Yeah.
We'll jump to the next team, Minnesota Timberwolves. Another team where it's just like, yeah. Obviously, Ant gets the bag. And good on him. I think he's the face of the team. The cat stuff hasn't really worked out.
No, it hasn't.
So Anthony Edwards is that guy for them. Naz Reid comes back as well. I think obviously the two big ones in Shake Milton, Troy Brown Jr. There's some wing shooting for you. There's some.
Shake Milton's pretty good. I like him.
I think he'll be a better, bigger role player on this team than he was in Philly. I think Philly it's hard because all the attention's either outside the 3-point line with James Harden or inside the paint with Joel Embiid. So you don't quite get the play time, the ball in the hand like you would. I think in a Minnesota team, he'll get more ball in hand, more time on court. And I think he'll stand out and show that he's a good player, man. He's a solid player. But other than that...
They don't really have a point guard, so they kind of need to run him.
You can run him, yeah.
Yeah.
To start.
Oh,
Mike Conley's there. He can pair up with
old
him.
He's old as...
He was good in the playoffs, Mike Conley.
Yeah, he's nice. I like Mike Conley. But I think another thing, just my kind of concerns with this team is like this whole like Rudy Gobert cat kind of thing. The pairing's just ass. I'm sorry. It's just been so bad.
Yeah.
And I just think it's been funny that they traded, what was it? Was it 5 draft picks?
It was traded the house, basically.
It was basically 5 draft picks, Walker Kessler. And then Walker Kessler, in the games that he started, his statistics have been the same, if not better than Rudy Gobert. And
efficiency.
They should be kicking themselves right now for that. And you know, I don't think Karl Anthony Towns I don't think he's really got the him in him. He doesn't really have the aggression.
No.
Doesn't really seem like he's that guy. But he's probably, and Rudy Gobert, like you're not going to get anything for him. I don't know, man. This might sound controversial, but I'd think about moving Karl Anthony Towns.
I think that's the logical option because you're right. Rudy Gobert isn't shift the goalpost for anyone. He doesn't change things for anyone. You've got Cat there. He's sort of, I talk about a lot in the soccer shows, but he lives off almost like an aura. Like he's got just an aura, like he was decent. He came, you know, when he was around, everyone sort of rated him. So he's probably still got a bit of like that value of just purely the aura that comes with him.
Yeah.
I think Rudy Gobert, older, everyone knows his game, right? Everyone knows the style he plays. I think you ship Cat out and you get something.
You could get a lot for him.
You reckon you can get a lot?
I think you could get a lot for him. Like you look at him objectively, you know, his average between 20 something and, you know, in the 25, 26 points per game pretty much for the last couple of seasons.
Yeah.
Probably the best 3-point shooting big of all time, you know, on a lot of attempts.
Yeah, stretches that. Yeah.
There's a lot of teams that he could fit really nicely, and I think you would get a lot for him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if in Minnesota, you don't really get generational players. No one wants to go there. It's too damn cold.
Yeah.
You don't really get really good players like him. So I really doubt that they'll move him, but you might need to start thinking about sort of where this team's going.
It's just such a slow-paced team now with those two out there.
So
it's
boring.
Hard to, I actually just find it so hard to watch Minnesota again. Like it is so. You're right. It's really the best. It's just boring. Like it just obviously they get big wins. They can put big scores on the ball, but it's just hard to watch at times watching them play basketball.
Yeah, and also like it's because the whole kind of logic behind this Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert pairing was like one plays defense, one doesn't play defense, but he's good on offense, and the other one's bad on offense. So the thing is, they've kind of lost there because what they've done is they're running Gobert at center because he can't play anywhere else because he has absolutely no offensive game. So they basically lost all the offense that you had in Karl Anthony Towns there, right? And you've got defense, But then also when you slide Karl Anthony Towns over to the power forward, right? He can't guard anyone that's slightly shorter than him.
Yeah.
So you've lost defense there, and you've added offense, but there's just this weird kind of like tit for toe kind of thing, and basically, and even times where you run basically only one of them, where one's injured or is resting or whatever. The team kind of works a bit better with just one of them on the court, so it just kind of feels a bit redundant.
Yeah, it feels like you
get one thing or the other. You get defense or you get offense. Together, it's just this weird kind of
cancel it out almost, yeah.
Yeah, it cancels out, exactly. Good way to put it.
How would you grade their current off season? Because this one was hard for me.
It's a bit hard. I did give them a D.
Yes, I gave them a C. Again, I'm being so generous, but like the Shake Milton one was cool for me. It's a cool pickup. And again, similar to the Clippers, I think their hands tied behind their back. They just can't really do anything.
Bringing Edwards back is really nice.
I think that's the biggest thing. You got your guy that locked in for the next 5 years. So that's the win for them, I guess, in many states. Move to the next team. Another team again with very boring off season. The Pelicans. It's been more off court drama than it has been on court moves. We won't touch on that, but they bring Herb Jones back. I like him.
He's a really cool dude,
cool player.
I rate him.
4-year deal. They bring Cody Zeller in for a year. That'll be a trade piece there.
He looks like a guy to retirement.
Yeah. Bro. Oh, don't get me wrong. He got some cool buckets for the Heat.
He's solid. He's a bit underrated,
But in that New Orleans team, I don't think he plays because there's so many good big, bodies in that team. I don't think he quite gets the time he probably deserves.
Yeah.
And then I guess all your major core players, your Jose Alvarado's, the Zions, are all under contract,
Brandon
right? Ingram, all these guys under contract. So
yeah,
a quiet off for them. They just need to run it back when they're all healthy, right? When Zion was out, before Zion was out, they were cooking up.
They were the first in the West for a period.
Heating up. Like everyone looked good. Like even the guards looked solid. Ingram was doing his thing. Zion was working his way back into it. Then that injury comes, and I feel like that was the turning point. It all sort of fell apart.
But that's the story of Zion. He played, I think it was 29 games this year. First year he played 26. Missed all the last season. I don't know, and I think it's just so annoying because he's such a great player. When he's on the court, he's incredible. 25 points a game, really, really efficient.
Yep.
I just don't know what they do about him. I think they've got to obviously keep him around. I think it's crazy to let him go. It just really depends on Zion Williamson. What's he going to do next season for them? Brandon Ingram's really criminally underrated. I think he's a really nice player.
That guy's Kevin Durant in disguise.
He's just you just add a bit of water and water down Kevin Durant. That's Brandon Ingram.
Yeah, that's what he is. Like same player, same style of play, super consistent. Like I feel like
he's so consistent.
He never has he'll have an off night, but it's not a bad game. He never has a bad game.
Yeah, it might be 20 a game. It might be 20 points.
I'm taking that any night.
Yeah, exactly. He's clutch too.
Together they work so well with Zion and him as well. They complement each other so well. That bully ball in the paint. That mid-range specialist.
Yeah, exactly.
Sniper in Ingram. I think, if they all are fit, they all work together, the Herb Jones of the world, like even the Jose Alvarados, you've got a team there that's got the defensive presence and authority and players that don't sort of slack off on the defensive end.
Sure.
But you've also got some cold heart killers on the other end of the court. And when they're fit, when they're healthy, first team in the West, they could do a similar thing this year. I just pray Zion's fit for a while. I just want to see what it looks like for 1 year because you're selling Brandon Ingram short. He's not getting the TV time almost that he deserves because
he's not.
The team sits at 8th and 9th all year and just.
But I think that's also a testament to this whole, the whole like sort of Lakers presence and things like that. Because Brandon got a lot of attention there, and he wasn't as good of a player as he is now.
Yeah.
So I think it might not be bad. It might be good for it's good to be in New Orleans if you're a younger player. It lets you develop with not a lot of pressure. So I think Zion needs to do his thing.
The grade wise for me, I went same as I went C again just because it's just
I put a C as well.
Yeah, like you get Zeller and you keep Herb Jones, which is I think all you really need to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, and we move to the final few now. We're getting there with OKC.
Yeah, hey,
your boys.
That's my guys.
Take us through it because an interesting offseason. Obviously, you don't really need to do too much.
Yeah, not really. Not really lots happened. We've added Des Bertans, we've added Victor Oladipo, and Des Bertans might actually be nice for our team. I think we need some shooting on the wing.
Yeah,
because our team is atrocious at shooting threes. We've got a starting lineup of players that can't really do a lot of that. And Des Bertans is going to give us no defense at all. But I think he was on the Wizards a couple of years ago. He averaged like 15 points a game,
solid, yeah,
and he was shooting a lot of threes. I think for him, it just really depends on the team that he's on. I think Des Bertans is actually going to be kind of nice because I think we're starting to move towards an actual point where we're going to start contending.
Yeah.
now. Chet Holmgren's coming back, which he looked really good in the summer league. Really stoked about his kind of development. I mean, millions of draft picks. We haven't really done a lot of moves right now as such. We drafted Keontae Johnson. Honestly, don't know a lot about him.
No, neither.
But, and brought in Vic Oladipo, and, at the end of the day, he might come off the bench and hit a couple shots. But nothing exciting to talk about.
I think, again, for me, it was just a flat C. I think Chet Holmgren's almost the biggest in because you didn't see him at all last year.
He's going to win Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, you reckon he does it? Yeah. He'll be exciting. Got Scoot, Victor, Chet, the Thompson brothers.
Twins. Yeah, Brandon Miller as well.
Yeah, so there's some serious contenders this year. But I think you're right. You get a few of those. Again, like I guess to a lesser extent than the Rockets, but you get a few older heads in there.
Yeah.
Get a few sort of mentors with the young guys. I think they just kick on again this year. So, fair C rating for those guys. Now another exciting team, the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
I don't know how they've done this. Fair play, because in my head, I couldn't work this out, but they've done it. Bradley Beal joins, Bol joins, Eric Gordon joins, Damian Lee joins, Okogie stays, which I think is a good return for him. Yuta Watanabe joins as well, but you lose Chris Paul. That's, to put it simply, that's sort of how you go about it. I think this is a cool team now. Deep Book's there. Obviously KD's there. He had a great link up with Yuta before he left Brooklyn. Yuta's a great shooter of the ball. That's a 3-point shot.
Yeah, he was leading the league in 3-point percentage for a while.
Bradley Beal can cook. I think he'll have a good season this year. I think he's better than everyone gives him credit. Everyone says he sort of dropped off over the last few years, but I think he's much better than people give him credit for. Talking about purgatory, the Wizards of purgatory the last few years. So he gets out of there. He gets to a team where he won't be the first option, right? I think he'll benefit from that, being that third option in this team. I think he'll get some really, really vital points. Interesting to see how they sort of format that lineup. There's a lot of scorers on the floor. Do they try and separate?
Yeah, do you think this is a contending team?
I always just worry. I think KD obviously is a winner. D Book, he's good in the playoffs, but I feel like he never gets done
over the hump.
Yeah.
He was really good in the playoffs.
But don't get me wrong, I'm not doubting him as a player. He kills in the playoff.
Like Devin Booker, but he was nice. I think you got to give him credit where it's due. But.
Yeah, like he does 100% deserves it. It just feels like weird that he can never really get it done.
Yeah, like it was embarrassing against Dallas last year in the playoffs. Yeah, that's pretty gross.
And obviously Eric Gordon as well. He's a great player. Shoot the ball. Again, the defense. Where's the defense going to come from this team? That's going to be your problem. Yeah. You're shipping like a lot of points, but you're scoring a lot of points. So for me, sitting on a Tuesday morning watching the game would be super fun. But if you're a fan of this team, you want wins.
I don't know. I'm not as high on Phoenix as you are. I think they didn't really look. They signed a lot of pretty good players, like role players that have been quite nice for not a lot of money as well. They actually, they were shopping at the thrift shop, bro.
Yeah.
But I just don't think Bradley Beal is really what they needed. I just don't think that's a player that's really. You've already got enough scoring between. You've got enough scoring between Kevin Durant, Devin Booker. Yeah. You've got DeAndre in there as well. You've already got a lot of offensive so not just depth, but you got a lot of offense, right?
Yeah.
Bradley Beal is just a watered down version of Kevin Durant. And he plays not a lot of defense. I just don't really think they've addressed their concerns. And I think they need to sort of go on sort of a Lakers route and get some players like Cam Reddish, get some defensive players, actually maybe get another center there as well, address some of their concerns with their defense and obviously their depth. And at the same time, they've obviously lost Chris Paul, they've lost Cameron Payne, they lost Torrey Craig, which is probably like their third base player at points of time, which is crazy. Yeah. They lost Landry Shamet as well. And they've lost Monty Williams as well, which is, and I think that was very much a sort of
reactionary
thing. I know this is a really good coach. They brought Frank Vogel, which is a defensively minded coach, which I think is going to be good for them.
Yeah.
But I just think this team's super weird. They just...
Now that you've said that, you should have swayed me, because I think back to how Frank Vogel was a scapegoat when the Lakers went a similar route with just all sort of offensive talent, but I guess older offensive talent, but his systems don't work with teams like this, and now you're swaying by a pick. But I like Bradley Beal as a player, but maybe you're right. Is there too many scorers on the court at once? Will this system work to allow Bradley Beal to get as many touches? Does Ayton get as many touches he deserves for that sort of money he'll be getting? That's sort of, I guess, more the problem. I liked just how they've just reformatted the team, which looked a bit locked away. It looked a bit like the same team
They
again.
do get a lot of good players.
Like, yeah, I think they're great players. But I think you're right. Probably in a system together, how does it work? That's the question we're still waiting to see. The defense always gonna be a problem, but I feel like, especially regular season, they probably just outscore teams. To be honest, like,
It's going to be a bit of a take turns, kind of like 3v3 at lunchtime, kind of school.
You're heating up, you go. You
Also, Bobo might, Jesus, Bobo might be nice.
Oh yeah,
Keita Bates-Diop, apparently he's a nice player. Don't know an awful lot about him.
Played with the Spurs last year, was right. Yeah,
He can play a bit of defense. It's just I don't know, a bit of a weird kind of off season for them.
What are you giving the grade then? Because you don't see him as big.
I'm not I'm not disappointed with it. I'm just not excited about it. I gave him a B plus.
B plus. Yeah, I went an A.
Okay,
I was pretty happy with what they did.
Yeah,
considering where they were locked into. I think getting rid of Chris Paul is probably a win for them.
Yeah,
just because change it up a bit. But yeah, a decent offset for them.
Yeah,
you've said my opinion on how good it was. I think
it just comes down to the Bradley Beal thing. Is it really what they need? Is it actually going to kind of work out? I don't know. They're going to score a lot of points. Are they going to flame out in the playoffs? Probably. But
yeah. We'll see how it all goes. Coming to, I think 3 or 4 more teams ago now. The Trailblazers, again, another team where it's like, They got Thibault and Jeremy Grant, which I think Jeremy Grant's a good get to keep him there. He's a good player. He needs better players around him, though. He can't be your sort of second option on the team.
No.
Obviously, they lose Cam Reddish. They lose Drew Eubanks, who's a decent bigger guy, like a decent sort of wing center player. They lose good around the ring. Obviously they get Scoot, but does Dame stay now? This
whole Dame thing is just unusual. I actually wrote for Portland. I wrote, I'm confused because I just don't know what the hell Portland's doing. They went 39 and 48 last season, and they were legitimately trying to win games. They were actually trying. You got Anthony Simons there. You got Scoot Henderson. You got Dame, and I don't know what's happening with him trade, where he's going to go. They're going to trade him at all. Had arguably his best season last year, 32 points a game, 8 assists or so. One of the best shooters that we've seen in history. I just don't know what they're doing right now. And then again, signing Jeremy Grant to an extension, he's more of a win now player. Yeah. They haven't won now.
Yeah.
And I do like him, but I just don't really know what the direction is right now. I think they need to get rid of Dame. They just need to find their hands with that.
Yeah,
they do have some nice kind of younger players. Shaden Sharp might be good this season. You've got Scoot. You've got obviously Anthony Simons. It's a little bit of an interesting kind of fun team, but just get rid of Dame. Just actually start
afresh.
They kind of just like half do everything. They don't really go, I'm going to commit to this entirely. They kind of go, oh, we're going to win now and get Jeremy Grant. It's like that's not going to move the needle for me. So. Maybe I sound like a hater right now. I just don't.
It's frustrating for Dame and frustrating for Portland because you're right. It's not a big team where you're going to draw in talent. So why not get the draft picks and almost force them to be there? Because if you draft them, you're there, right? You're there for at least 2 seasons. Is that the route they go down?
Dame might even end up on this team starting next season, which is going to be kind of funny.
A shame. Yeah, I think it's a huge shame. Miami got to get him.
They got to get him. Just get him out of there.
But you're right. Like Anthony Simons and Scoot Henderson, that's your backcourt. You don't need. It's frustrating for all parties. I think it's frustrating just watching because I want to see Dame in a winning team. I want to see Portland just give up on this whole project.
It's just crap. It's just
start fresh. Yeah.
Blazers.
The off season for me, I gave him. I'll stick with it. I'll go C minus. I think it gets bumped up because obviously you get Scoot and you keep Jeremy Grant, but you're not moving moving anywhere in any direction. You feel like you're staying where you are, and it's really. A negative way of
I'll give him a C as well. So.
Yeah, a really struggle of an off season for them.
It's good hands, it's going to be nice, but...
Yeah, it'd be cool to watch. The Kings now, they get Duarte from the Pacers. They get, I just feel like such a Sacramento again. They get Alex Len and Trey.
Off-season.
Yeah, they get Alex Len and Trey Lyles back for 1 and 2 years respectively. Noel joins, which is a cool pickup. Doesn't get much time, I think, in this team though, because there's taller, bigger talent in that team. He's a good role guy in your regular season. Obviously, Sabonis is the biggest thing for me. I think that almost pushes them up just because you get him in the deal. I think he was big. You were big on him last year. I was massive on him as well. That playoff run, it was very big for them. Obviously, you got your young guys there. Keegan Murray is still around, so you still got that young core. Blake Monk, Fox, all these guys.
Kings are in a nice place.
Yeah.
And they re-signed Sabonis.
Yeah.
It's quite a big contract. It's $217 for 5 years, something like that.
Huge.
And they obviously brought back Harrison Barnes as well. Harrison Barnes is really underrated.
I forgot Harrison Barnes.
Really underrated. Quite a fun player. Just Goes in there and just gets buckets.
Yeah.
He's the best job in the NBA. Yeah, and I think they lost Richaun Holmes, which I think is a bit of an underrated loss. You know, averaged 10 and 6 last year. I don't know. I think it's just, I think my kind of concern for them is they haven't really addressed their concerning defense. You know, they were the best offense of all time, which is crazy. I love the Kings. I genuinely love the Kings, but and then the defense is ass. So they were the 24th. You know, and I think they made a competitive series with Golden State last season.
Got lucky they got Golden State in a way. Both teams are scorers, right?
Yeah, that was just trading buckets and it was a lot of fun. I just think they should have addressed their defensive concerns. Whatever that looked like, I'm not 100% sure, but it's not a bad off-season, but they could have definitely just made a little bit more moves. Even just getting one defensive wing or defensive sort of center that they can run, maybe Nexus Sabonis, some over power forward would have been fine. Yeah. Every NBA team can benefit from having a defensively minded center.
I feel like the 3-and-D wings are so hard to get. They're so in demand.
3-and-D wings are probably the most, like the best sort of role player that you can get. They're so highly sought after.
Outside your superstar, I think it's the one thing every team basically needs.
Oh, yeah. Because, playing with 3-and-D wings is incredible. It's such a good, it's just great for every team, really.
Yeah. I think it's going to be, I'm worried about, sort of building what you said, I'm worried about their season, how they're going to go. Like there'll be a lot of expectation after last year. Has their list got any better? Not really. Has other teams around them got better? I guess that's another fair question. I think a few teams, if you kicked on the Lakers, they probably kicked on a bit. I think the Warriors will be back. Like the Warriors are just the Warriors, right?
Warriors.
And obviously Phoenix is, in my eyes, a better team than they were last year. So I'm just hoping they don't get pushed down too far and they don't kick on as much as they hope they do. But you're right. I think the defense will be a big problem. Obviously, regular season doesn't really matter. You score, you win, basically regular season. But when it comes to the playoffs,
defense wins championships.
That's where it's going to hit them like a brick wall. But I hope they can make a few trades at the start of the year. If you sort of roll guys that can play defense, a wing that can play defense. I think importantly, probably a center that can play defense to chop out for
just anyone that can play defense.
Just give him some rest as well.
Anyone.
Anyway, just come down.
We need a defender, man. But David Mitchell actually might be nice this season.
He'll be good.
He's a fun defensive player. They're a couple defenders away from being
championship contenders.
I think so.
I think they got the offensive output for it.
Yeah,
one or two guys to swing through.
Sabonis is so much fun. I love that man.
Yeah. What are you writing there off season then?
I just gave him a C. I don't think there's anything too crazy.
Yeah,
it wasn't really.
I guess gave him a B+. I think I was being nice. I like
Sacramento.
Nice. I just like Sacramento.
I don't know. It just wasn't really a lot of interesting. And at the same time, when I give a team a C, it doesn't mean they had it bad.
That's just an average.
It just means it's just quite average. Not a lot to really, get excited about.
Yeah, 100%. The last team now, probably to another similar sort of positions. The Spurs, they get Champagne back. He played very well in the Summer League. He was balling out in the Summer League. Trey Jones, obviously back as well.
Yeah.
The Jones brothers are awesome with the ball in their hand. They're back on multi-year deals. Campaign joins, which is an interesting sort of pickup. They get Osman, Lamar Stevens, and Reggie Bullock basically just to trade for picks. They just basically
they might just move and get rid of salary.
Yeah, so they get upgraded picks from that basically. They just pick swaps and going on there. So I guess that's a win for the Spurs. The Spurs are still, I think, a year or so away for challenging properly.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit of Wemby stat padding for the next sort of year and a half.
Yeah, they won the draft. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Victor this year.
Yeah.
He wasn't great for his first regular Summer League game wasn't great. Second one was really, really good.
Yeah.
And he was saying that he didn't really know what he was doing out there. I don't know what that means.
It's a weird statement to say.
It's an unusual statement.
It's not media training.
I just think not media training. That's true. But I think Victor's going to be really good, but I don't think he's going to be as impactful straight away as people think he is.
Yeah.
People are like, it's an average 25 game and get 4 blocks and take this team to the playoffs. He's just, look, man, just chill out, bro. This is a French guy that's just been hanging out. He's, he might average 16, 17 in a game, give you a couple of rebounds and play good defense. I think it's not unreasonable expectation. People shouldn't be disappointed with that. He's just a bit, he's like Rudy Gobert that actually has some offensive tools.
Yeah.
Has a good mindset, I think. But, you can't really complain about getting...
Basically, this is a free hit for him. I think the Spurs are still not a long way, because obviously they got him now, but they're still a fair way away from making a proper playoff push or like an OKC. I think they're probably 2 seasons away from the OKC season we just saw, which is play in and have a bit of fun, then get
And
knocked
you
out.
got, and you got Devin Vassell there. You've got Calvin Johnson
Yeah.
Jr. So, you've got a couple of nice players.
They got some good draft picks that come. I think it'll come around eventually, but I think for me, it's just a B- purely because they got Wemby and they traded for some more picks. Basically
Yeah,
for me.
yeah.
The campaign thing will be cool. See how he balls out and
He's fine.
San
I rate
Antonio team.
campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave him a B.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
pretty good.
fair.
I mean, it just depends on Victor. I think
Yeah.
Victor's fantastic, and you might even sound like we're haters. And I think some people would just say A+ just because of Victor.
yeah.
But I
Gotta be
think people
realistic.
need to just calm down a little
Yeah.
bit about that, man. But,
It could be like 2K at 90 rated in the first year.
It's a bit. I don't know, but he might be really nice. So we'll just have to wait and see.
100%. And the final team, the Jazz, similar thing. The most exciting for me is the Collins trade. They get Collins
That was
across.
super weird.
Clarkson extends for his 3 years, so he's basically the Jazz. He's in that Jazz team now. Get the Walker Kessler, all these guys there. They draft Taylor Hendricks, Keontae George, and Bryce. I can never say the guy's second name in the first round. So they got a lot of draft picks this year, a lot of draft picks in the years to
Yeah.
come. They're gonna get heaps of draft picks.
We're drafting forever, man.
Yeah.
They did so well out of that whole time. Mitchell, really good.
They are winning that.
They swapped out Rudy Gobert for a younger version of him.
He's doing equally as well. I'd
Equally
say,
as well. Have I can't honestly, they got so many draft picks out of that whole thing.
Yeah.
And for Don Mitchell as well. And I think John, I don't really know what the purpose of this John Collins trade is because
Seems a Jeremy
he's an
Grant one,
older
right?
player. Yeah, he didn't have a great season last year, but a couple of years back, we were looking at him as almost an all-star because he was averaging 21 a
20,
game,
yeah.
shooting 40% from three, which is ridiculous as a power forward. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he might fit in there nicely. The Jazz might make some noise this year. It just was a bit unusual. I don't really know what their direction is with that as such. But yeah, the Jazz have got a couple of young players, a couple of players that can kind of compete now, and a lot of draft picks. It's a good spot to be in. I think
it could be another play-in type season for them.
potentially.
I mean,
Yeah.
Walker Kessler's going to just grow leaps and bounds. I feel like he's at the FIBA World Cup as well, so he'll learn from there as well. Some international talent as well will play on. I just think they're going that direction. I like Sexton. I like what he's doing out there.
Yeah.
It's just a cool young team, right?
It's a cool young
and you
team.
got new pieces coming in.
Your THT there as well.
That guy, the sniper, THT.
Oh,
no.
THT.
But yeah, Jordan Clarkson's cool. Like, it's a nice team. It's talent. It's raw
And
talent.
Lowry.
Yeah,
Sorry, I love Lowry.
that's a shout as well.
Watching him play is so funny.
Imagine
It's like a
his
daddy
back.
long legs,
Yeah.
man. He's just ridiculous. It's like a younger version. It's like a Chris. It's kind of like Chris Stapps on the Knicks, to be honest.
You know what?
I think that's a
Yeah,
good
yeah.
comparison. There you go. I just came up with that just then.
Yeah, on top of the lobe there. What are you rating them? Because I like the John Collins trade, but you're sort of right in the way that doesn't really help them now. Probably not, because probably not ready to be helped out yet.
Yeah, I gave him just a B.
Yeah, I went an A-. I just like the John Collins trade. I like there's 3 first round picks in there. They're set up for the future.
Yeah. Not a bad time to be a Jazz fan.
Yeah.
Future is going
Could we
to
be
be fun.
seeing the OKC Jazz finals in the Western Conference finals in
2027,
like 2024?
Where
25?
they just have like all the 90 overall players. They just hit like a crazy NBA 2K rebuild. So yeah, heaps of fun.
It's nuts. Well, that's all the Western Conference teams. We'll be here next week doing the Eastern Conference teams.
Yes, we
a
will.
bit more movement around there. A few teams that have made some massive moves. Obviously, the FIBA World Cup's coming up as well. I might try and do some stuff for that as well. Go the Aussies.
That's right. He's got the shirt, got the hoodie
got the hoodie on today.
Paddy Mills.
Yeah, that's about it. Obviously, it is a bit of a quiet point at the current point in time for basketball, especially NBA. But once it starts coming around again, we'll be getting our power rankings out,
100%.
our season predictions, so we can look like fools in 8 months' time and laugh at ourselves. But that basically wraps us up, man. Anything else for today?
No, just a random thing that I feel like I want to say. I feel like OKC is going to be a top 5 team in the NBA next season.
You call it just
It's not relevant at all. I'm going to say it now.
I'm just going to make a random statement as well. I think the Houston Rockets make the play-in. There we go.
Well, there you go. That's just two little
There's
fun
two
predictions.
random predictions for you, just to simmer on for the next sort of month or so before the season starts. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like, subscribe, all those good things to the channel. Share with mates. Let's keep growing this channel out there. And we'll see you guys next week for another King of the Court episode.
Easy. Thank you, guys.